Good evening and welcome to our live Q&A here in our Zoom room at Shaping Perspectives. We appreciate you showing up today. And what we are doing today is talking to our participants about any struggles or any problems that they are having and seeing how we can help move them through that. I am here, my name is Ann Poirier, and I am here with Timothy Drown, and he is the Director of Movement, Play, and Exercise here at Shaping Perspectives. So if you have any movement questions for him, we greatly appreciate you asking those. And I'm going to let him introduce himself in just a minute. So I hope that you enjoy this session about, let's just kind of dive into the things that we do here at Shaping Perspectives. And for you, as we work mostly with women struggling with weight, body image issues, women suffering from PCOS, and other metabolic issues. So for any questions that you might have around food or eating, body image, self-talk, stress, movement, pain, pain with movement, any of those kind of things is what we're going to be talking about a little bit tonight. So I'm going to let Timothy talk a little bit about his background. So Tim, can you tell our listeners what your background is?
Yeah, welcome and thanks for taking some time out of your busy schedule to be with us tonight. I started my career about 35 years ago. I went to Florida State University and then went to Indiana University. I got a master's degree in athletic training and injury prevention. I've had the opportunity to work with a variety of athletes, of women of all ages. I like to tell Annie that the reason why I understand women so well is because I had the opportunity to live with 100 teenage girls when I was the athletic director at the Purnell School in New Jersey. From there, I went on to, I was an athletic director. I was a sports performance coach. I formed my own company in 2004. It was called To Be a Champion. And I was working with women and doing body transformation with them, as well as athletes of all abilities, ages, and shapes. I had girls go to a variety of colleges, Division I, and that such. And then I've been having we started a company together about 7 years ago called ATP Fitness. The A is for Annie and T is for Tim, and the P is, she likes to say Poirier, so it's really Tim Poirier, not Tim Drown. But ATP, for those of you that have an exercise background, stands for energy. So that was sort of a little play that we had. So so I've had the opportunity to work with thousands and thousands of clients and participants. One of the things that I do a lot of is help women especially get out of pain, so that they can move with more pleasure, more joy, help people recover, whether it's, from knee injuries or hip reconstruction, knee replacement, those type of things. So I've done a lot of work. I'm also a precision nutrition certified coach. I'm a certified self-talk trainer, as well as I have a certification as a national strength and conditioning coach and a personal trainer, and I was a former certified athletic trainer. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have for us tonight.
And I think what we'll do is to start is one of the things that Tim and I have worked together with is this moving through pain. So when we first got together, I was doing a lot of running, and I was having a lot of issues with my knee, number one, and then also my feet. So Tim really looked at how I was running, my gait, and so why don't you share a little bit about how you helped me actually move through the pain that I was in order to be able to run a couple of marathons?
Yeah, Annie what most people do is run. And she'd run a lot. And the way she would do it is she'd have long runs, medium range runs, and then short runs. But it was running all the time. And what happens is when all you're doing is running, is over time it's the pounding on the knees and the back and the hips take the brunt of it. And what we've learned through work as a functional movement coach is that you just can't do that. So all the major sport teams, you'll hear them talk about doing some different things. So they would foam roll, they would do some what we call prehab, some movement exercises that would help loosen up joints. Then they would also work on the core, and then you'd work on running mechanics, specifically functional strength to do that. So in Annie's particular program, we introduced her to foam rolling, especially the bottom of the feet, her IT band, her quads, her hamstrings. Those are the big ones for her. So by foam rolling, you're allowing the muscle tissue to function better. And then we introduced her some prehab exercises. So she would do some ankle moves, some leg kicks, some leg swings. She would do some backwards heel walks, those type of things to loosen up before she went out and ran. And then we also had her running, she would do long runs, but then we'd have recovery days. So she might go out for just a mile run, and then she'd be in the weight room doing functional strength things, using bands and medicine balls and stability balls, those type of things. So it's much more comprehensive approach that one gets you out of pain, but improves your running mechanics. So you're much more efficient and you're not pounding as much on your joints and stuff like that. So that was one of the biggest things that we did. And then we also talked about nutritional recovery and stuff like that.
Yeah. And now I don't run anymore due to the fact that I think I did some damage with all the running that I did. So some of you know I had a knee replacement. And so now I do a lot of walking. And one of the questions that we did get prior to the call with someone, her name is Liz. And so hello, Liz. And her question was, and I'll read it so I can be specific on it, was about stretches. What are good stretches for before and after a good walk? So go ahead and answer that.
Well, what I want to do is talk about a couple of different things. Stretching, traditional stretching is done after, in this terms of walking or running or whatever the activity does. And then what we've done is we've changed the term from stretching to something called movement prep or dynamic warm-up. And those are a little different in the sense that, for example, in the olden days, you might stretch your hamstrings. So you sit on the ground, put your toe to your nose, and bend forward, and that would be a stretch. Mm-hmm. But we don't do those anymore. What we try to do is make sure that the central nervous system is warmed up. We make sure that the core, which is the center of all movement and is very important in injury reduction and prevention, we make sure that gets awoke. So at the beginning of workout, we might suggest, for example, I want you to do some leg kicks, which is just simply standing up nice and tall and kicking your leg.
I can maybe do one, maybe.
Sure, without hopefully not kicking me.
Right, so it's a swing of the leg.
So it's a swing of the leg and back and forth. So would be a leg swing. A leg kick can be, you're going to go across your body, in and out. And again, this is going to loosen up the hip, as well as the abductor and the groin and all the core and stuff like that. Maybe have you do one other one is something called out the window. So we're getting some great range of motion out. So she's going to go up, so she's bring it straight up, out to the side, whips, puts it down, and here's a side view of it like that. So those are three exercises that we would do in terms of warming up for movement prep or dynamic warm-up. In addition to that, we would probably suggest that you do 3 or 4 type of movements using foam rolling. Or you might have heard the term myofascial release. So the first one would be is we take a tennis ball and you roll the bottom of your arches with that. Mm-hmm. And again, so
it'd be just a roll.
Yeah, it'd be with a tennis ball. And that loosens up the arch, which again absorbs shock for you and stuff like that. It also works on getting some ankle mobility, because the more ankle mobility you have, the more you absorb the shock. We'd also work the IT band, Annie, if you can stand up again. And the IT band's along the side. It goes from the hip all the way down to the outside part of the ankle. And that gets really tight in runners. And a lot of times, if that's tight, you get knee pain. We once worked with a young girl. She was 13 years old, and she had gone to physical therapy, and she had tried a bunch of different other things to get rid of knee pain. And what we just had to do is some foam roll her bottom of her feet, foam roll her IT band, foam roll her quads, foam roll her hamstring. And then we did a few functional strength exercises with her. And within 2-3 weeks, we got her out of pain. And then she went on to win the Beach to Beacon, which is a local race around here in Cape Elizabeth for her age group, and was back running in a short period of time when she wasn't able before. So those are some type of things I would sort of do a little what we call movement prep, including some myofascial release or connective tissue release. And then I would do some movement exercises to loosen, especially the hip area. And then I would do maybe a set of push-ups or a set of walkouts, again, to address the hamstring as well as the core. So that's what I would do before, and then I go for my walk. When I return home, a couple of great stretches. Basically, you want to work stretching the calf muscle. So there's a couple different ways to do that. You can go on stairs and just drop down. That's a great one. My recommendation is you do it 3 different ways. You drop straight down, then you turn your toes in, and then you turn your toes out. And the reason why you do that is because the Achilles tendon has 3 attachments, so you want to stretch in all 3 of those directions. The other one would be some hamstring stretches, and there's numerous ways to do that. You can YouTube it. One of our favorites is you just put your foot up on a stairs, and then you stay nice and tall, and you just reach and bend forward. And then I would do something for the hip or low back, and so that's where I might take my foam roller out again, and I might roll my piriformis area, which is down in the hip, and my low back. And those tend to, by doing those, that's a really great little program protocol. So you got some movement prep, you get some myofascial release, you get some core strength there. Then you're going to go for your walk, run, whatever the case may be, and then you'll end it with stretches that will really be beneficial. So that would be a very simple protocol that we could put together for somebody who would recommend that. I know in our Thinkific, on our online learning cafe, we have a program called Walk and Release the Weight. And in there, we have a series of those exercises. And what's cool about that program is it's threefold. It's we talk about the mind, we talk about the mouth, which is eating, and then we talk about movement. So it's a fun little comprehensive program at 4 weeks, and watch you through it and stuff like that. So that might be, if you're looking for some more ideas or a specific program, you might want to look at that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And what we'll do is we post this up on the Facebook page, and if you're on our mailing list, we'll be sending this out as well. So if you're watching this and you're not on our mailing list, please message us right at the Facebook link, or you can message at annpoirier11@gmail.com, and we'll get you on our mailing list, because we send out lots of great information. But we'll post the Shaping Perspectives Thinkific site, where we have lots of different classes. And the Walk and Release the Weight program was a program that we did when we were living in New Hampshire, and it was great. We had 6 women that came and did the program with us, and so it has different walking workouts and different ways to walk. I mean, walking is just not walking. There's lots of different ways that you can walk. So it's a great program. So I would encourage you to take a look at that. And it also includes a session with Tim to kind of help you move through that. So that's another, hey Liz, we were just answering their question. So we're going to move into, so you're going to have to listen to the recording for that first question. But let me pull you up here. And so, hey Liz.
Hey Liz.
So we are going to move into another question that Liz had sent to us, and let me read it so I get the words right, Liz, and then Tim's going to answer it. Also, given that I have osteoarthritis in both knees, which we know a lot about because that's very similar to my knee situation as well, with little or no cartilage, are there muscle groups other than the hamstrings that I should work on strengthening in order to minimize knee pain? So that's a great question, because a lot of the people that we work with do have knee pain. Knees are one of the joints that really take. I always say it wasn't designed very well, which takes a lot of strain. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. What I'm going to do, Liz, is talk a little bit more about not just muscle strengthening, because that's just one little component of it.
Okay.
One of the things that we know is if I can loosen up, I have this fascia that's attached from my bottom of my feet that wraps around my body and goes to my head. And when that fascia gets really tight, whether we've moved or haven't moved, or if we're dehydrated, then that causes pain. And a lot of times it causes pain in the knee. So, and then there's also, I have a band, it's called an IT band. I'll have Annie stand up a little bit. And it basically goes from the hip down outside your knee. And when that band's tight, what happens is it pulls the kneecap a little bit out of place, and that can create some pain. So whenever we, part of our program of getting out of pain, regardless of any condition, is to do this little foam rolling. And one is a tennis ball, and you just take the tennis ball and you put it on the bottom of your feet and you just roll it. And you roll it 30 seconds, 45 minutes, and seconds, sorry. And then it feels like pins and needles a little bit. And at first it might be really painful, but over time, that gets a lot less painful. Then the next thing we do is, if you have a foam roller, you can use that, or they have these, they're called a wand or a stick. And you would just, Annie's going to probably grab a drumstick, and you can do it with a drumstick too. And so,
rolling pin will work, right?
And so you just start up at the top, and you would roll up and roll down. And again, same deal, 30 seconds, 45 seconds.
Little painful.
Yeah. And then I'm also going to have her do her quad. And that's just going down the front of it. So I would start by doing those three things. So that's foam roll, do a tennis ball on the bottom, IT band, and quad. So I would do that first. And then the next thing, in terms of strengthening the muscles, the biggest muscle to strengthen is our gluteal muscle, which is also known as the butt muscle. And the butt muscle, all of us suffer from something called lazy butt because we tend to sit on it. And so by strengthening that muscle, then it will help the knee track properly. And there's a couple of simple things you can do. So I'll have Annie stand up again. And the first one is what we call a single leg reach, but we're going to do it with 2 legs. And so basically Annie's going to look forward, and she puts her hands out. And what she's going to do is squat down, just go a little bit wider with your feet. And what she's going to do is sort of bob forward. So she's just going to, and then stand up, come all the way back. And so she just reaches forward, she hinges a little bit and comes up back. So here's a side view of it. Boom, and comes up.
Okay.
So that, you start with 2 legs, and then we progress to a single leg. And so if you want more information in a couple weeks, we can show you that. So that's an exercise that I would do. And then the other thing that you want to do is this idea about using, what we use is bands. And basically, the bands, we want you to do 2 things. One, stand up for a second, and your feet are just shoulder width together. And you would just put the bands, attach them, and you're just going to pull them in towards you. And what's cool about this is you're working your upper body, you're working your core, but go ahead, reach out. What you'll notice is that Annie's knee muscles will contract. Go ahead. So you can see it. So they're out, and you pull it in. And that's very simple. So she's getting some hamstring work, she's getting some gluteal work back here, and then some quad work. And again, once I do all 3 of those, then that will help. Do a stagger stance, and then from there, I'll do a stagger stance, and I just put one foot in front of the other one. And if you would stand up and do that, and then put your hand on this opposite butt, you'll feel that will contract, because that's what helps stabilize you. And so it's just a series of we do band pulls. You could do band pushes where you pull them away and stuff like that. But anytime you can do 2 feet and then stagger stance and use some bands, your core is going to fire. And again, that's really important in terms of helping stabilize and get you out of the pain. So that's just a few ideas that you can use. And if you want some, help with that, just reach out to us and we can design a specific program for you.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. That's great.
Yeah, the standing, like machine work, you go to a gym, machine work, you're seated in everything.
Right.
What's good about the bands is that we're functionally standing a lot of the times, and when we walk and when we do things, we're standing. So by standing and doing some of these exercises, we're hitting a lot more muscle, a lot more muscle groups. So it's just more functional. We were talking about that just the other night too, just doing some more functional work.
Yeah.
So, so that's great. Thanks for coming in.
Sure.
So, we were talking about a little bit about this myofascia in the walking as well, and we've covered some different things for pre-walk and post-walk, so you can listen in.
Sure.
So for the beginning, I also there was one other question that I wanted to address as well, and that has to do with carbohydrates and sugars, because what has been kind of out in the what you'll notice in if you're looking through Facebook feeds or if you're looking on TV and ads and such, that they're talking about getting rid of sugars and getting rid of carbohydrates or lowering your carbohydrates, and they've got all kinds of different lifestyle. They're calling them lifestyle plans as far as like a paleo or a keto, and those are the two that are kind of out and in the public eye right now. And one of the things that we do know about carbohydrates, and I'll let Tim talk a little bit about this too, is if he has anything more to say about it, is the fact that our brain runs on carbohydrates and sugar, and so we need it to focus and to actually be able to think clearer. So when you remove that from the diet, then the body is utilizing other things for trying to think and utilize for the brain. And what happens is we get fuzzy, we start to forget things, there's loss of memory, sometimes there's some dizziness. So there's some things that can actually go along with that. And so it's really important that we have macronutrients because they're all needed in the body for specific reasons. And so even though initially there might be a weight loss, it's not a weight loss that's going to be sustainable. It's a weight loss that is more hydration, the muscle, water from the muscle. It's a quick drop, but then as soon as carbohydrates are introduced back into the diet, the weight comes right back up. And it also kind of plays with the metabolism. So there's a lot of things that can really alter our physiology with jumping into one of these types of diets.
And Annie's, I think, has talked enough about this idea about it's still restricting. Whenever you remove anything, it's still a diet, whatever they want to call it, whatever they want. We need the carbohydrate is energy. Now, there's different type of carbohydrates. We'll talk about a fibrous carbohydrate, which is more plant-based, versus some other, sugar type of carbohydrates and stuff like that. So we need the carbs, and we should never want to get rid of the carbs. And the other thing is we're encouraging a more active lifestyle. We want to get people out of pain. We want them to move with joy and play. And we want you to do that regularly. And the only way you can do that and then live the life you want, have the energy, because it's energy, is to make sure that you're fueled up. And intuitive eating, that's one method of making sure that you're doing that. So, but all of these paleos and these type of new trends, it's still a diet. And yes, weight loss is quick and fast because Annie just explained it, because the carbohydrates, if you take them out, carbohydrates store water, right? So, and then if I get on the scale and I've eliminated a bunch of carbohydrates, it says, oh, look, I lost 10 pounds or 8 pounds and stuff like that. But you can't sustain that long term. Intuitive eating is a strategy and a lifestyle that can be sustained. And when you combine all the 5 simple steps that Annie's created, we talk about intuitive eating, making sure that you satisfy your hunger, making sure that you honor your body. We've talked about listening to self-talk and getting rid of that diet mentality, that thin ideal, or looking for a the solution isn't in any diet or eating plan. And when we talk about joyful movement and play, the more you do that, and the more I eat intuitively, then the body, if it wants to, is going to release some fat. And that's not a bad thing. And then stress is so important in the formula. And it's so, if you don't reduce it, if you don't change it, if you don't, listen to guided meditations, or if you don't get the cortisol level down, which stores the fat hormone, nothing really is going to change. So it's and then it's daily self-care. So it's the 5 steps that will help people get where they want to in terms of weight or fat loss. And Annie's explained very in lots of different ways that the body does not like to give up weight. It just doesn't. It wasn't designed to do it. And then you could spend the next hour talking about the science of weight and diets and why they don't work. So we want people to eat intuitively and not honor their hunger. We want them to move joyfully, because if they do those type of things, reduce their stress, and change their mindset with self-talk, then they are going to get where we've worked with over 30 years, and we've tried every method. And when we finally got to the point when, people are working way too hard, they're stressed out, they're still unhappy, we can get them lose 10, 15 pounds for 3 months, and then they go back and put it back on, and they go back again, and stuff like that. We said, wait, there's got to be a better way. And so we spent the past 10, 15 years just what's going to work, what will work. And any one by themselves will work for a little bit, but when you combine all 5, there's a nice synergistic effect to it, and there's nothing better. And then, because we're wasting too much time. I'll tell a quick story. I had this wonderful woman who was gifted. She was a teacher, a professor. She was a lawyer. She had a wonderful family. She was volunteering in the community, had all this energy. And she was struggling with losing 10 pounds. And I said, where does this come from? I asked her. And when she was in 5th or 6th grade, she was the tallest girl she was the tallest person in her class. So she was the heaviest. She wasn't fat or anything like that, but she was the heaviest. And in those days, the phys ed teachers would weigh you and then yell it out and write it down. So this woman is in her late 50s, early 60s, and she's still trying to lose weight, even though she's talented and gifted and she has all these things. And I finally said to her, I said, Beth, no, let's focus on something else. And she was getting into cycling. So I said, okay, so you're going to work on cycling. She cycled. We did, a lot of functional strength, and then we got her eating well. And lo and behold, because that was her focus and her body was ready, she released the 10 pounds because she no longer was worried about it. It didn't matter that she was 10 pounds heavier. It didn't matter. And then what was funny, or in my estimation, is she always gains the 10 pounds because in the fall, she goes back to school. She goes and teaches. She's busier. She has a little bit more stress. She also has a 45-minute commute both ways, right? In the summertime, she's got more freedom and those 10 pounds come off. So we finally got to the idea was, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it because it will take care of itself. And then she's so much better, so much happier. She had an opportunity to go with her husband to Europe and going on a 20-day biking adventure and stuff like that. That's what we want. That's what we want for people. We don't want them to no longer do the things that they don't want to do and stuff like that. So so it's a good question. So when people talk about diets and carbohydrates and protein and this like that, we have to have micronutrients, but in the big scheme of things, that's not the most important thing. It's, again, the more people put the 5 steps into place, the more the body's going to be willing to, if it needs to, release the weight.
Right. And that's what we kind of are always talking about, is every body is different, and every body moves differently, feels differently with different foods. Depends on our experiences in our life, how much stress we have, what that looks like. Is it compounded stress, or is it acute stress that happens kind of like Beth, where it's once a year? I mean, for a period of time, a season, or if it's something that's longer lasting and then it's building on top stressor on top of stressor on top of stressor. And that's when the body starts to break down. So that was the other question that I had received before our call tonight. So Liz, do you have any other questions or any other thoughts while you're here? Okay. No. Okay. I lost your, you're muted.
Yeah.
There you
Okay.
are. There you
There
are.
we go. Okay. Sorry. I forgot. Yeah, I don't think so. I can't think of anything else.
Okay.
I think I'll sign off and then I'll wait for the recording and hear the answer to my first question.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I didn't make it.
All right. Thanks for showing up for a little bit.
Okay. Sure thing. You have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye. So yeah, so we were talking about, we've been talking about getting out of pain. I think one of the biggest pieces is for, we know that there's a lot of research behind moving our bodies. We know that it's good for us, and we know that it helps with stress, and it helps with our function and our lifestyle. Yet, if we're in pain, that is something that we just don't, we won't move because it doesn't feel good. And so getting out of pain is our first step out of anything. So if you're in pain, the first thing is to get out of pain. So why don't you talk just a little bit before we sign off about back pain, because back pain is one of those things that it hinders a lot of people that we work with.
Yeah. Back pain normally is the cause of immobility up in the mid-back range and also in the hip range. So we call, at the hip, it's called hip rotational deficit. So that means the hips don't move very well. One, we sat for a long time. If we had a previous injury, whether it's at the ankle, the knee, that can cause some problems. So back pain, everybody goes to the back. That's not the issue. That's just where it shows up. So with back pain, what we want to do is you got to do some work with the upper body mobility. So one simple exercise is you just put your hands up here, and it's called a butterfly stretch. Pull it in, push them apart. And what we're trying to get is your vertebrae as well as your scaps back here to work just like this, up, down, up, down, up, down. But because of stress, because of all our works in front of us, our shoulders tend to be hunched up. When our shoulders tend to be hunched up, and then the scapulars don't move, then the back takes the brunt of it. Basically, your body is one joint stacked upon each other, and depending upon what's happening at the joint below, that will determine where pain is. So, for example, at the joint, that's supposed to be pretty what we call mobile, so it should move up, down, can circle around and stuff like that. Then the knee, it's not. It just goes up, down, so it doesn't have a lot of range of motion. The hip, because it's a ball and socket, you're supposed to have a lot of range of motion at the hip. The low back, there's not supposed to be a lot of movement, right? So it's supposed to be stable, but with all the rotation and bending and twisting and stuff like that, then that can take the brunt of the problem, especially because the hip is tight. And then you go up to the mid-back, and then the mid-back, that's supposed to have some range of motion. It's not supposed to be fixed. And then you go to the shoulder joints, ball and socket again, supposed to be round. And then the neck is going to have some range of motion, but not a lot. So when we talk about back pain, I have to address the fascia again, because we talked about the fascia is from the bottom of your feet, goes all around your head. Some people have tight fascia, they get a headache. So again, the more you can do connective tissue release, get out of fascia. Some people will go see a massage therapist. Some people will go see a Rolfer. A Rolfer is a little bit more aggressive type of massage and stuff like that. So, but we can use a foam roller. We can use a ball. We can use a medicine ball. We can use a variety of things to loosen up the fascia. And there's lots of different joints. So I would do with the low back, I would do my piriformis. Can you stand up? And the piriformis is in the hip. It's right in here, and that tends to get really tight. I do my glutes, my hip there, and I would do my mid-back as well as the bottom of my feet. So those are the four. That's my fascia release stuff. Low back, you have to strengthen your core. Not push-ups. Not sit-ups, not crunches, not machines. So the easiest one is you start with a simple plank, and it's not, you need to plank for 3 to 5 minutes. That's a myth. What we want to do is you plank for 5-10 seconds, and then you rest for a couple seconds, and then you do another one and another one and another. So the more you can do those type of planks, the better. So we do that. Now, if I can't get on the floor, then I can do some band stuff. So I'm going to stand up, 2 feet, stagger stance. Again, as soon as I stand up, my core gets engaged. And as soon as if I move, with a dumbbell, or if I move with a med ball or something like that, my core has to engage. If you want a core specific program or back specific program, just email us, and we can create you a customized one. We'll get on the phone. We'll talk to you about how did it start, where is it, and then we'll create a program for you. And then you have to do some strengthening. So again, we did some fascia release. We did some core stuff. I want to do some stuff in terms of the upper back to get us back, right? Not forward, but back. And again, the easiest way is to do some bands to do that. So there's a strengthening component, there's a myofascial component, and then there's a core component. And when you put those 3 things together, you can get almost anybody out of back pain. I don't want to be specific about different type of back pain, but just we can get people out of back pain. So and it's really important. You don't suffer, as I say to Annie all the time, or to our clients. If you're in pain, let us know, and we'll take care of it. And a lot of times it's just doing what you do a few exercises and myofascial release, and then we can move along to other things and stuff like that. With our athletes, it's the same thing. We call it prehab. We do certain things to reduce their risk of injuries, to reduce overtraining. And if you sit too much, sitting-itis, one of the worst things for your back is sitting. So we recommend every 20 minutes, get up. One of the best things that Annie talks about is doing these energy blasts. Just get up for a minute and then march in place. Just getting up in a minute, do some wall push-ups. She'll dance. She'll do something for a minute and a half, and then go back and do your stuff. But to sit the whole time is not something we recommend. Annie, for example, does her work standing up, right? So you've seen these desks that stand up and stuff like that. So the more you can stand, the better. And again, it's like everything else, user progression.
Yeah. I call it, it's called sitting-itis, and I call it sitting interruptus.
Right. Right.
Interrupting the sitting. And what does that look like? And so with our intuitive eating group that we've been working with just over the last 4 weeks, that's what we've been working on. And then the women that are in that group have had a great fun showing the other women what they're doing to interrupt their sitting. So right. It's been a fun group.
And some people have been dancing, and some or going out to play, or things like
getting
that.
Outside, taking walks past 2 bathrooms, right, to a bathroom, so that they're getting more walking, utilizing the stairs, things like that. So there's and we have one that was talking about a painting Tabata. She was painting and taking rests in between her painting. So some fun with the sitting interruptus.
Yeah, and I think, Annie, walking is critical.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in pain and you can't walk, let's get you out of pain, because walking is fundamental. It's functional. It's something that will allow you to keep your independence your entire life. And right. What happens to most seniors is they lose the ability to walk. When they lose the ability to walk, that's when they lose their independence. So, in fact, walking is so critical that when in our 2-2-2 movement formula, right, we say 2 days a week we want you to walk.
Right.
And then we have 2 days of play fit, and play fit or any exercise activity that you love, that you just you want to do it. So it could be drumming, it could be playing tennis, it could be going golfing or bowling or dancing or yoga or anything that you really love. Go do. And the other 2 days, we want you to do functional strength, because you got to work on the core, and you got to work on the myofascial release, and you got to. As we age, we lose strength, and when you lose strength, again, you lose your independence. It's also, if you're a woman, you need to do strength training to help prevent osteoporosis, or if you have osteoporosis, then that's a way of delaying it and making it worse. The other thing is if you're looking at true body transformation, if you want so-called, I want nice biceps, right?
Right.
Or I want a nice back. The only way you get that, right, is through functional strength. You have to lift up weights, use bands, use medicine balls, that type of thing to do that. So our 2-2 magic movement formula is designed so you can do it all year long. So it's fun, but also functional. So it allows you to claim your independence, and to make sure that if you're, for example, a grandmother and you want to play with your grandchild, we want you to have the ability to get on the floor, get up on the floor, pick them up, go to a playground with them, and we can go on and on and on.
Right.
We don't want any woman that we work with, or in general, not to do the things that they want to do.
And that they love.
And if you've ever been injured, you know what that's like. Where, for example, you're supposed to go to a play, but you couldn't because, say you hurt your back or something like that.
Right.
Or you want to go see your grandchild perform in a play or a musical or something like that, but you couldn't do it. Or if you were supposed to have dinner out with people that, your family or friends and stuff like that, and you can't do that stuff, then that's not just physical, that's an emotional as well as mental type of thing. And we don't have to live that way. So the 2-2-2 movement formula is something that you're not going to overtrain, you're not going to get hurt, and we know it's going to have beneficial effects because we've taken all the research based upon movement and we've applied it, right?
Correct.
So that we know we have to strength train. That's a given. We know that walking is fundamental. We want you to do it, right? So that's in there. And then play fit, we have a whole category. I think we have over 70 or 80 type of exercises, not exercises, but sports and play, move, whatever you want to do. And so it becomes fun. And then we do want you to take a day off to recover. We want you to take one rest day when it's just, stop, let your body recover, type of deal. And again, once you combine that movement formula with the other 4 steps, then you can overcome, weight and body image, negative self-talk, and eating struggles and issues. And so that's why, Annie created this, it's just food, action plan for you to do that. And it's fundamental, but it's all based upon our own expertise, our knowledge. We have 70 years combined. That's a lot. And then as well as the research and stuff like that. Someday we'll show you all the books and things that we have in here and stuff like that that shows. Now, Annie claims that I've read them all, but that's not true. I've skimmed several of them and stuff like that. So
it's the science too that's behind it. And I always go back to the science, when things, just knowing that I have lived through overtraining, I have lived through injury, right? And it's not fun. And to find a way that you can move your body joyfully, with purpose, and be able to continue to do the things that you want to do. What's your end game? What is it that you want to do, like Tim was saying? And that's really what our program is all about. We want you to live your life. Live your life enjoying eating out with friends, enjoying picking out your clothes in the morning, and not feeling, what clothes fit and what clothes don't fit, right? We want you to feel good in your body. We want you to be positive with your mindset, because your mindset is so important with everything, taking care of stress and then moving. So it's this program is pulling it all together. It's not just the eating and exercise piece anymore. We know that. It's about all of the other things that are combined.
Yeah, and let me just add, it's an integrated, comprehensive approach. And it works because, again, it's based upon science and it's based upon our own experiences as well as, our expertise. We believe anything is possible and success is inevitable. we have a program, we have plan, we have coaching, we have resources that can help you. So hopefully you found tonight useful. This is the second question and answer group coaching call that we had. It's part of our Finally Free, Fit, and Fabulous Breakthrough Series. If you haven't had a chance to look at that, this is actually our fifth week. We've got one more week.
Yeah.
We're going to do that. And that's available also on the Online Learning Cafe. Everything that Annie has done over the 6 weeks, Monday morning, she does a Monday morning motivation. On Wednesday, it's about preparing you for change, how you can transform successfully over the long term. So it's not just a short thing. And then on Thursdays is one of our 5 steps.
Tomorrow we're talking about self-care. And stress, reducing stress. How do we reduce stress and self-care? So that'll be tomorrow's post that you'll see, and I'll probably go live tomorrow at some point in the day.
So if we can be of any help or service, or please let us know. I'm available to create customized, individualized programs based upon whatever you need, whether it's, get you out of pain, whether it's some type of sports performance, or, if you want to go hiking, for example, you want to hike some mountains, we can customize that for you. I can get out, we get on a coaching call with you to see how we can best help you. So please let us help you. Because that's what we're here for at Shaping Perspective. So thank you for attending tonight.
Yeah, thanks very much for being here. We appreciate it, and we'll have this up in both in our Think a Fix, so it'll be recorded there, and also we're going to post it live on the Facebook page, and also it will be in an email.
Sure.
That will be we'll post to our email list.
You got it.
And if you're not on our email list, email us so we can get you on. All right. Have a great night, everybody.